Hey everybody, I'm Bavin McQuarna, Senior Insight Strategist at ZENZIC, and I am one of the final few presentations of the day, and I've already been told to keep it brief, so I'm going to canter through my slides. Today I'm going to talk about two main things. One is the considerations the UK government is giving for supporting connected and automated mobility, which I'm going to be calling CAM for the rest of this presentation, which most people will know as connected and self-driving cars. And then a little bit about ZENZIC and what we do and how we can help. So Carla mentioned a little bit earlier that there will be potentially some stuff coming down the line. But first, what I wanted to have a look at and just remind everybody of is where have we come from in terms of policy and investment from the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, CCAV, which is a joint department between the DFT and BEIS. They've invested hundreds of millions of pounds over the last 5 or so years, really in 3 strands. The first one there, it's not particularly clear, but the first one there is around regulation, and this goes back all the way to the Automated and Electric Vehicles Act in 2018. But also what sits under there is the CAV Pass, which is around the regulation that enable these types of vehicles, as well as the insurance for safety and security. The second strand of investment to date has been around lots of joint R&D, lots of collaborative R&D. There's over 90 different projects with over 200 organizations over the last 5 years or so, looking at what trials and demos for this type of technology. In the picture at the bottom right-hand corner there, you have a Oxbotica vehicle from the project Driven. And the third strand is an integrated testing infrastructure. This is now known as CAM Testbed UK, and I'll talk a little bit more about CAM Testbed UK later because that was the primary focus for ZENZIC over the last few years. Now, there is a strong indication and consideration of what's coming next by CCAV. Now, don't worry, I have got permission to go into a little bit more detail than Carla could go into earlier today, but there's the usual caveats. This is not official government policy, and there is more coming down the line as early as next week. But what I can talk about is what the areas are likely to focus on. The current thinking is around 3 strands of support for CAM going forward. The first one is around commercial deployment opportunities, commercial services. Second one is around mass transit. And then the third one is around support for the supply chain. I'm going to focus on the first 2 and give you a little bit more information about what that could entail or likely to entail. So strand 1 is around commercializing CAM services. So to date, we've seen a lot of great trials and demonstrations, but there is a strong political will to take this a step further, to build on all the great work from the past few years, and to look into how do you turn this into reality? How do you use the technologies to solve real problems? And so it is likely that these projects are intended to have a life beyond that of the duration up until 2025 and beyond. And these could either focus on logistic services or passenger services and can either be on private land or public land. And by that, we mean land which is unrestricted or restricted for the public. So the main takeaway here is there's an opportunity for particularly public sector bodies to get involved, to provide the issues at hand. You guys know your areas particularly well, what's needed, what the challenges are. This is about looking at real problems for real solutions and utilizing the technologies for that. I'm going to skip over the next slide. So to do that, we need to look at the technology holistically. So thinking about what it takes to build an end-to-end service. So everything from the consumer, the user base, all the way to the technology, the hardware and software that goes into it, thinking about the operator, thinking about local authority, thinking about who's providing the security, who's providing the safety case for these types of things. There's a lot that goes into safely deploying these technologies, and particularly when you start to think about moving that towards something that can be commercialized. So I put this up here really to illustrate that there's a lot of moving parts, But for me, I think one of the key factors here is around the operators and the local authorities, because these are the ones who effectively will be deploying either the logistics services or passenger services. So the second strand that's potentially coming down the line is around mass transit. This is the idea of looking at developing a business case, or what it would take to be able to take disused or underutilized infrastructure, such as old beaching lines, and kind of using the connected and automated mobility technologies to reinvigorate them. So here it's more of a feasibility study and is likely to last in shorter duration. Skip over that slide. So these are indicative timings. Again, don't worry, I have had permission to show this. So Carla alluded to launching the strand 1 and 2 a little bit earlier, and I can say that's similar to what we have on the slide. It'll be open for a couple of months, looking to get that awarded towards the end of the year and kind of kick off towards the start of 2023 and last about 2.5 years, ending in 2025. The third strand, which is supply chain strand, which I haven't really talked about, is likely to launch later in the year, end at a similar time, but slightly compressed timings there. So that's what is potentially coming down the line. And the things from this room, things to consider is what's the incentive to get involved, and what's the risks, what's the rewards. And really, I've spoken about this already, it's about finding solutions using this innovative technology to solve real-world problems. So to take issues in your areas, if you are a public sector or local authority, and understand how can you create a solution that is sustainable, that can last beyond the lifetime of this project. It is no longer about demonstration and trials, it's about moving it forward to something that is tangible and hopefully everlasting, as much as this technology can allow that. And it's to leverage collaboration. These projects are intended to be done in consortia. I think there is a strong potential for these to be led by local authorities or entities that are a mixture of local authorities, because you guys know your roads, you know your problems, you know what solutions could happen. And that is very, very important in making sure whatever services are deployed, whether it be logistics or passenger services, they're in the right place and they're serving the right people. And the final point at the bottom there is around the fact that if you are a public sector body, it will be 100% grant funded. There's a slight caveat to that, but I'm not going to go into the details at this moment in time. Catch me later if you want to know what that caveat is. So how do you get involved in this? How can you get involved? Well, that's where ZENZIC comes in. And that's my cue to tell you a little bit more about who ZENZIC is. So we are a part government, part industry funded organization. And we're here to support the development of the CAM ecosystem, to bring together government, academia, and industry, and really help push forward the development and deployment of CAM technologies. And we do this under 3 main pillars. The first is through insights, the second is innovation, and the third is collaboration. So insights is around understanding the strategic value and understanding what needs to be done. So we have 2 main strands of that. We have strategic research, is what I lead and head up. And the second part of that is the UK CAM roadmap to 2030, which hopefully people in the room have seen. It was launched a few years ago. I'll come on to that in a few moments' time. The second one is around innovation. We channel elements of CR&D through ZENZIC. And that also includes an SME scale-up program to help accelerate the development of the technologies. And then finally, that element around collaboration, bringing people together. As part of that, over the number of last few years, our focus has primarily been on CAM Testbed UK, but it now goes beyond that and looking at the entire ecosystem in the UK. Speaking of CAM Testbed UK, oh wow, that's very washed out. You can't really see that picture of the UK there. I mentioned already that over the last 5 years or so, ZENZIC's main priority has been around the testing facilities, so around developing the group of interoperable they are sometimes competitive, but collaborative group of entities. There are 6 main facilities ranging from private roads, in terms of Millbrook and Proving Ground, Millbrook, Ribamara, sorry, it's called UTAC now actually. And we have public road testbeds as well, SMLL in London and Midlands Future Mobility in the Midlands. And in the past, that's been the main focus of ZENZIC. As of April, that's no longer our only focus. We're also now thinking about the entirety of the CAM ecosystem. But it is showcasing some of the stuff that we focused on in the past. Now, as our remit's expanded, we've also looked at different types of projects and collaborations. This slide gives you a little indication of what we've done in the past year or so, focusing on some elements of safety, simulation, virtual verification and validation, and kind of data services using V2X. And the key part and key takeaway from these slides is the element of collaboration. Everything that we've done over the last few years has had collaboration at its heart. It's about bringing together the relevant parties to help push forward the technology, help the UK understand its place in the global market. And one of the key IPs for that is the UK CAM roadmap to 2030. It's underpinned by this vision statement. I'm not going to read it out. The key part of that is the bit at the bottom, which is about making sure that the UK is a world leader. And to do that, we need collaboration. And the roadmap, this is a little glance at it, the roadmap was a huge collaborative effort. It was 200 plus organizations, 300 plus individuals, all looking to see what needs to be done, everything from regulation to the technology to the infrastructure, up until 2030. This was originally published in 2019 and updated in 2020. It will be getting another update later this year, but it really helps to give us a holistic and collaborative view of where we're going when it comes to this technology, and hopefully a useful tool for everybody in this room. And finally, my last slide is just to remind everybody and to plug, there is an event next week, a joint CCAV Innovate UK, ZENZIC and KTN event next week in Wales, in the National Digital Exploitation Centre. And there you'll hear a little bit more about the plans for government support for CAM. If you are not signed up or if you're interested, there is still space. You can either go in person or it is a hybrid event. That is a fly-through of what's coming down the line and who ZENZIC is. My details on the slide. Thank you.